I thought we'd do something a little bit different today, and I'm going to show you how I edit my pictures. We're in that small window of time between my cats napping and going crazy, so I think there's one cat like here and also one cat there. So basically, when I was in England, I did work for a while in a studio, just editing photos. I really enjoy editing photos. I love getting really artistic with it. I love changing the lighting and the vibe. So Instagram honestly is really, really fun for me. Again, I still don't have my Instagram account back, but I've still been doing photo shoots, still editing pictures so I don't get out of practice, and I thought I'd explain to you how I do it. Also, I want to have a little bit of conversation about over editing and editing in Asia in general. Like, there's quite a big editing culture here. I have a lot of opinions about it, and I'd like to start an open conversation with you guys. I'm going to be using my phone for this. I do all my editing on my phone. I think maybe it might be easier actually if I had an iPad, but I'm so used to like this motion, and I think that my muscle memory is just used to this. I think if I went move to an iPad it might be slightly harder for me. But yeah, I'll show you the main apps that I use. The three main apps that I use are Photoshop, Meitu, and PicsArt. I sometimes also use line camera as well. Okay, so we're gonna be editing this photo. This one did pretty good actually on my Instagram. Anything with flowers generally does good, and flowers are so easy to edit. They're easy to duplicate, it's easy to change the color, it's easy to add more, take away more. It's just generally really easy to edit, and that's why I have a lot of pictures of me with flowers. Whenever I edit pictures, I always turn the brightness way up on my phone just so it's easier to see everything. When I use my phone normally, I turn the brightness way down because it's better for my eyes. Okay, so the first app we are gonna use is PicsArt. PicsArt is maybe the app that people are a little bit less familiar with. There is a paid version and there is just a normal version. This, I just used a normal version. I'll explain why later, but the paid version is pretty good. Like, I will probably invest in it in the future when I have a little bit more money. Okay, so this is the app I use for cutting, pasting, making a collage out of my picture and adding things. I'll show you the good part of this app is that there's a sticker system. There's a whole different bunch of stickers that are free. It's like a lot of it is user based, so users will make their own stickers, cut and paste things. There's a lot of dodgy stuff on here. Honestly, it's not well regulated. Be careful. Also, you have to be careful with copyright. Like, make sure the things you're using for the app are not like art or anything that people have created or copyrighted, so like be careful with that. But just stuff like flowers and stuff like that, that's usually fine. So we want to add some roses, so let's just type roses, see what comes up. Immediately we have like a lot of cartoon stuff, and then obviously we're looking for the real ones. You can see like the stickers that have a crown on them. That means you need the paid version of the app for it, but it also means that they're probably copyrighted, so it's probably best to get the full version, and then you know at least the things you're using you can actually use. Let's put white roses. Okay, here we go. So like stuff like this. Immediately it's too bright, it's a little bit too clear, so just go to adjust and then maybe take the contrast down a bit. We're gonna change the hue because I took this picture in golden hour, so obviously everything's a little bit more orangey. So we take the hue down, make it, let's see, make it a little bit more yellow, take the brightness down. Removing the shadows obviously gives the image a little bit more depth, because a lot of these stickers, they look a little bit 2D, but when you start playing around with the different options, it just gives it more depth. You can duplicate it as well, make way more. I'm not loving this sticker, but you can kind of see, if you wanted to go crazy, you could just honestly put these everywhere. And if you want to, obviously you can delete parts of it. I also like this app because you have so much control over the size of your brushes and the hardness of it. So you can really get in there and delete parts of it. Sorry, you can hear my cat aggressively shitting in the background. It's another day in my life. Bringing down the opacity also blends it a little bit more into the environment. I'm not actually loving these, so we're just going to get rid of these. I take pictures with roses quite a lot, so I have set ones that I've gone through and found. Honestly, finding stickers is normally the hardest part. You have to go through pages and pages and pages, and you got to find the ones at the right angles. Quite like these. So we will again adjust the hue. See if we can make it a little bit more yellow. Take down the brightness. Take down the contrast. If we take up the saturation, it really brings out the yellow, makes it look a little bit more golden. Bring down the shadows. Take down the opacity a little bit. Then we can just be really lazy with this, and we can just duplicate it, change the angle around a little bit. Because a lot of the time when I'm editing something, I can really tell when it's been edited, but most people just can't. Your eye really feels everything in for you. So let's have a couple of big ones. Bring up the hue. Haru-chan, your lunch is in 9 minutes. Keep adding roses. There's also like these really big ones that you can use, which are kind of a little bit cheating. Just take down the saturation, take down the hue, the temperature a little bit, the saturation, the brightness. Today we're going to do quite a rough job, but you get the idea. Take a few of these little ones and then just dot them around a bit, and that'll like throw people off to the bigger chunks that we used. Now what happens if there's just no stickers that match your picture? Okay, well, what we can do is, or what makes it a little bit more authentic, is you can cut out parts of your image, and sometimes I just cut out the flowers around it. It will self-select just a general area. You can add a little bit more or take a little bit of that away. You just save it and it saves itself as a sticker. In your private items, and it will be there. Okay, we're not gonna go too hard today, but so far I'm happy with that. Next we're gonna use Meitu. Like, Meitu is an Asian beauty editing app. There's so much you can do on Meitu. I love Meitu. Again, it's mostly for beauty. There's an auto feature, like a there's an auto beauty filter that you can just use like that, and it just makes your face a little bit smaller. It adds a little bit of makeup. You can adjust how big or small you want your face. You can add how much makeup you want to add. The issue with Meitu or any beauty app is that, like this, is that it's gonna make your image a little bit lower quality, which I hate. So I try to like avoid doing it too much. A popular one is the Slim tool. In Japan and Asia in general, the beauty standard is it's good to have a small face. So normally people would make their face a little bit smaller, and also the trend is to have quite full cheeks. Like a lot of people get fillers to make their cheeks full, and people will just like pull their cheek out a little bit, which is a thing that happens. If you do it too much, it looks crazy. Sometimes I'll do it a little bit. I don't want to edit my images too much because I meet a lot of people in person, so like it's a bit weird if you meet someone you look completely different. But I do edit, I do make my face smaller, and I will sometimes make my face look a little bit more plump. Then obviously there's makeup. Again, the more you add, the less high quality the image is going to be. So like sometimes you just want to add just a little bit and just make the image pop a little bit more. There, I got some blush. And this is something I sometimes do when my roots are growing in, is if you go to contour and go to hair dye, there is different ones. I'm not sure if you have one that suits you. You can just get like hide your roots a little bit. Yeah, and already it just looks a little bit better. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm gonna save that. And the last thing we're gonna do is use Photoshop, and Photoshop I use primarily for just brightness, changing the colors, stuff like that. It's great because you can pick the subject or background, and you can actually add your own layers and like select certain parts. It's great if you want to just make maybe your hair a little bit less bright or less saturated and stuff like that. It's very specific. Again, you don't really need to use Photoshop, but I personally I really like Photoshop. I add pink to all my pictures because I find that when I was using Instagram, it's better to have a cohesive feed. But I change fashion quite a lot, so I didn't know what to do to make everything more cohesive. So I add just a little bit of this particular shade of pink in every photo, and it helps it look more cohesive. I want to bring the saturation up because I really wanted to bring out the sunset. And again, not that much has to be done to this. What I love doing is bringing down the highlight. That really makes the light pop. And there's shadows. I think normally I bring the shadows up so you can see what's going on more in the image, but for this shot I'm going to bring it all the way down, and it also helps to hide the sloppy job I did of cutting out the stickers. Okay, yeah, that's it. I'm pretty happy with that. So basically we went from this to this. I maybe went a bit overboard with the flowers. Normally I wouldn't go that hard, honestly, but I really like it. I use Instagram more as like an artistic outlet, so I don't mind just going crazy and editing my pictures. I just wanted to talk about how I feel about editing in general. Again, as I grew up editing photos, and that I really like doing it from an artistic standpoint, I didn't really acknowledge the negative effects that editing can have on you. And honestly, like living in Asia my whole adult life, I think it does have like a weird effect on your body image, because you know, particularly in Asia, you have to be really, really thin, and your face is supposed to be really, really small, your eyes are supposed to be big. I notice sometimes when I'm editing a picture that I'll just be editing way too much, and that's because for me, a lot of the influencers I follow are Japanese, and Japanese influencers do edit a lot. Like a lot of them will make their skin very, very white, they'll make their face really, really tiny, they'll make their eyes very, very big, and even though you don't mean to replicate that, subconsciously I was finding myself doing it. So now when I edit a picture, I edit it, I close my phone, I go do something, and I'll come back in like an hour, I'll open it and I'll look at it again just to make sure that it actually still looks like me. I've always been fine with editing because, particularly someone who worked in a studio, it's really easy for me to tell if someone has edited something. But then I'll meet someone who have literally no idea. Another story I have is my friend from England. She was trapped in England away from her Japanese husband during the pandemic for, I guess, a year. And she was a little bit upset because there was another foreign girl who was kind of I guess trying to steal her husband and always bugging her husband. Her husband was nice though, like he didn't really entertain it. But my friend said that she was really worried because the girl that was pursuing her husband was gorgeous and stunning, and she had like a tiny little face and like big sparkling eyes. And then she told me who it was. And I think I've seen this person in person before, and I was like, are you sure? Because the person we're talking about, they're very attractive, but like I don't remember them looking like that. And my friend assumed it's because the girl had lots of surgery. But I pulled up a picture of her and I was like, oh no, this is just editing. Like this person, their face isn't really this shape. Like obviously their eyes aren't this big, their face isn't this clear. I mean, like humans are humans. Like we have textured skin, like we have wrinkles. It's normal. It's you know, it should be celebrated. And she was really relieved, she really fully believed that this girl was just a perfect human. It made me understand that like a lot of people will look at these images and they'll think that they're completely real. And when being online in general and being bombarded with all these images of perfect looking people, I think it's good to just be aware that a lot of the things you are seeing aren't real, and just be careful of your own online experience. Try to like not absorb images that you know are gonna make you feel sad, and honestly just step away from it if it's affecting you badly, because I know a lot of people, particularly women, who when they come to Japan, it really negatively affected their body image, because here, particularly seeing magazines everywhere where people are really skinny and having giant eyes and perfect skin, it does maybe get to you. And you're not alone in feeling like this, and there's nothing wrong with feeling like this. It's just like honestly a product of society. Let me know if you enjoyed my video. Let me know how you feel about editing, because I know it's kind of like a taboo subject, and I feel like particularly now, like the conversation hasn't been open enough for people to talk about it. But like I think it's important. I really do think that we should talk about it. And again, I'm on the fence that editing is fine as long as maybe you don't do it too much, and as long as you're aware of the people that are going to be consuming your content. So yeah, let me know what you think. As always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe.